Welcome to More Than a Few Words, a marketing conversation for business owners. This is your host, Lorraine Ball. And I know you've heard it a million times. You have to be consistent with your content. You've got to keep going, but sometimes that can feel a little overwhelming. And so today, I'm excited to talk to Nina Froriep because she's back in my guest chair. And I first connected with her with conversations about video and video marketing. But today she's really pivoted a little bit of her focus onto LinkedIn strategy and content creation for business owners and primarily service providers. And so I'm excited to talk about all of this with you, Nina. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me back. I'm very honored to be able to come again.
We always have a good time and there's always so much good information. So I
Yeah,
want to dive right in.
please do.
This talk of consistency,
Yeah.
what does effective consistency look like?
I love that you're adding the word effective, right? Because
Mhm.
we can consistently do dumb things that don't lead to anything, not move our business. So when I talk about consistency, I talk about it in the context of mostly posting on LinkedIn, but it obviously goes feeds into everything around content creation in general. Um, but the consistency, there's so many layers to it, right? It is the consistency in your messaging. It is the consistency in you executing a content plan, executing on the plan, and then posting. And most people sort of just look at the posting part and then they
Mhm.
fudge themselves about through the first two steps, and that's where they get themselves into trouble. Um, the bottom line on LinkedIn is that the algorithm, which is the thing that we're trying to appease, so it will show our content to more people, especially specifically people that are not yet in our ecosystem. The algorithm on LinkedIn loves consistency, and that's where it stands out a bit from other algorithms on other social media platforms. So posting every Tuesday and every Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern every single week pays off handsomely, and more so than if you were posting, 7 times a week and at random times.
Really? So it's the consistency that beats the frequency.
Yes.
Wow.
And that's one of the many things why I love LinkedIn.
Well, yeah, because you don't really have to work as hard. I'm sitting here killing myself thinking I have to have content all day, every day, multiple times a day.
No, you can be super strategic with LinkedIn. You can plan it in advance. You can batch produce it. And yes, I mean, like I post Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm a LinkedIn creator by profession. I only post 3 times a week. Now, I have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday where I might share someone else's content or that I might do a spur of the moment thing. But my planned and strategically planned content happens only on 3 days a week.
Wow. Okay, so you're only posting 3, 4 times a week, depending on what's comfortable for you.
Mhm.
How do you take that content and make sure that you build credibility with your content, that you're not just the algorithm is noticing you, but that people who count are noticing you?
Yeah. And I mean, look, the algorithm is important, but I always tell my clients in the end, you're writing for your aligned clients or whatever is aligned to you, right? If you are a consultant, not a coach, you might need to have that top notch LinkedIn strategy with content that makes the person who recommends you for this big,
Mhm.
$100,000 contract makes you look good to their bosses. So they're going to sign off on it and make your direct client look good and not lose their job over it, right?
Mhm.
So LinkedIn can fulfill several different roles, so to speak. Um, and for me, how some people when it's a new year, they start with like, setting an intention for the year and a word for the year and an animal for the year and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not that much into it, but this year I actually have sort of a phrase of the year, which is elevating your conversation or elevate your conversation. because the people who work with me regularly are at a point where they're posting consistently. They're doing a really beautiful job. They get a lot of engagement. So, what is the next step? And the next step really is, once you're out of survival mode of posting, is really making sure that the content you put out actually not only supports your business and gets you the right client, but also elevates you into those big, I like to call them the big, hairy, audacious goals that you have in
Mhm,
your life.
mhm,
And that happens by you writing into that or creating content into that goal. So
mhm,
elevating the conversation, and that can look, for everybody that looks different, and for some people it's very subtle, and from other people it's a real, um, a much more noticeable
mhm.
effort. But in effect, you just want to make sure that you're not just posting in survival mode and posting because your friend, your partner, your dog walker told you you should be posting on LinkedIn.
Well, and I totally agree with all of that, but posting content and focusing on the algorithm noticing you will only get you so far.
Mhm.
As consistent as you are, there has to be more, right? Or I mean, if you don't get people commenting or interacting, the algorithm's going to start to annoy you, ignore you.
Um, yes and no. I mean, so there's some mechanisms that are in place. There are, you can join a group of people who will comment, who will, where you comment on their stuff and they comment on your stuff.
Mhm,
The simplest form of that is just a pod. It's called a LinkedIn pod. There are paid ones, there are free ones. It's just people who agree to be posting at the same time every X day, and then will share the links to their posts and then comment on each other's stuff. Um, there are people who say that it's illegal, to illegal by LinkedIn standards to do so. Um, and if you look at the fine print, and I have looked at the fine print, because surprise, surprise, I run a group, but I don't
mhm,
call it a pod, and the mechanics are different, right? But the outcome is the same. So you just want to make sure that you're not using, for instance, a plugin like a Chrome plugin, or some kind of software, because that is definitely not allowed and it can shut you down. I once followed, when I was a newbie on LinkedIn, I had a Chrome plugin that automatically liked my, like, we were 50 people in it and everybody liked everybody else's content, and a whole bunch of us got barred from LinkedIn. I was out for about a week and I had a full blown, like, if I had been any older, I would have had a heart attack. It was
mhm,
it was it was not fun, because I get, over half of my business cold on LinkedIn. So for me not to be on LinkedIn is like, is a death knell. So what you can do, and what we do, for instance, is that we still have the group of people that agrees to be posting at the same time, on the same days, um, and we mix it up, and it's about 30 people. But we look for each other organically. We do not
mhm,
share links, and that is what makes a huge difference. So yes, it's the same people, and we mix it up, a little bit. It's the same people commenting on each other's content, but we're finding each other organically on LinkedIn. We're not following a link, and
mhm,
that makes all the difference in the world, because there's nothing wrong with that, and there's nothing where you get penalized for it,
mhm.
for doing so. And so I call it an engagement group, because that's what it is. It's not a pod, it's an engagement group.
I've been in a couple of unofficial engagement groups and things like that. And what I've always found is, the group comes together and everybody's very excited about being a part of the group and they're all in. And then you notice over time that some people kind of lose steam. So,
Yeah,
how do you make sure you end up in a group that everybody plays?
great question. So I think number one, it makes a huge difference whether you pay for the group or not.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I think things you pay for, you're going to treasure a little more and make more of
Mhm,
an effort. That's step number one. And then I think, just having a transactional thing happen is not very inspiring. So, if you're running a group or you're planning on joining a group, make sure there's more to it. Like we have monthly training calls. We have a community platform where people can chat amongst each other. I encourage questions. I encourage people networking amongst each other. I don't allow direct selling in the group, but
Mhm.
if member Lorraine wants to sell to member Nina because they're aligned, then by all means I support that, and I think that's great. And we do planning sessions, quarterly planning sessions. We do a lot of sort of activities, and we have a resource center. So there's a whole course on all things LinkedIn that is backed by this group, that backs this group. So it just gives you a whole little ecosystem. And then I more or less handpick my people, so no one comes in without having had a call with me. So, really important to me that people in the group are nice people, are aligned people, are people who will play nice. Now, of the currently, I think we're between 30 and 35 people. Um, you will always have the same 15 people who are extraordinarily consistent. Those are probably also the people who work with VAs, because by nature of having a VA, you're going to be consistent because that's a VA's job now, right?
Yes. Yes.
And then I have maybe another, you know, 5 people who come in and out, and then I have another 5 people who are just total MIA, or they are actually on joined saying that they will not post, but my engagement group is, for instance, inexpensive enough. It's worth it to them just for the monthly calls and for knowing what's going on, right?
Cool.
And the quarterly planning, etc. So, um, but yeah, building a group, it's all about leadership. I
Mhm.
think, and making and keeping the group engaged with, asking questions, giving feedback, and not just having it run on automatic pilot.
Makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Those are fabulous tips. Nina, this was a great conversation about consistency and specifically consistency on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Thanks for being a part of the show.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me again.
If you've enjoyed this conversation, I want you to be sure to check out Nina's website at clockwiseproductions.com.
Yep.
And also look for her on LinkedIn because you'll learn a lot more there.
Yep.
Thanks again. And if you've enjoyed this conversation, if you're looking for other resources for your business, hop over to More Than a Few Words. You'll find hundreds of conversations like this, workbooks, webinars, and so much more. This has been another episode of More Than a Few Words. Thanks for listening.